Hello, and thank you for watching. Today I have something different. You see the Humvee here, but behind the Humvee is what we're going to discuss today. And this is called a DRASH trailer, something rapid deployment trailer. Basically, it's a generator, ECU or air conditioner, heater, and a trailer all in one. Of course, the back portion has nothing in it, but it's designed to hold the tent components when you are deployed. So we're going to be going over some of the details here and some things I learned. Though I don't even have this unit up and running yet, there's a lot of nuances to these units before you think about bidding on one on GovPlanet. So the first thing, let's go over the hitch. I showed up with my pickup, and that was a joke. There's about 800, maybe even 1,000 pounds on this hitch, depending whether the unit's wet or dry, and it is a heavy beast. You can tell by the size of those tail hooks that the government doesn't mess around, neither should you when pulling this thing. Now, it does have a brake proportioning system. When I got mine, somebody had pulled the pins on it, so I had to put the hitch back together. Basically, there's a brake cylinder inside of there and a piston that rides against that hitch, and that hitch is allowed to slide fore and aft. When the trailer weight goes forward towards the vehicle, that puts pressure on the piston, and that charges your brakes and allows the unit to brake. And likewise, when that lever is pulled there, if it was to break away and that lever was yanked forward, that applies pressure on the cylinder and applies the brakes and locks them up for you. So that's the first thing to notice. Of course, on these trailers, per usual, you have your individual handbrakes on each side, and the rest is pretty basic. Yeah, this one had LED lights. You have your typical run-flat military tires, and there's nothing else very specific I can go over on the hitch. Now let's go to the other side of the trailer and discuss the generator. This unit came with a 33 kilowatt phase 3 generator. On this side, there's nothing too complicated. You have your onboard fuel tank, you have your auxiliary supply lines, and then you have your tank selector. Pretty simple, right? Then, of course, forward to this, you have your ECU. Now, this is a bit unique. Of course, you have your condensers and evaporators and stuff, everything right here, depending on how you run it. But this panel does open up, so give me just a moment here. Inside this panel, you have the controls for your air conditioning or heating. As you can see, there's a little door, so you don't have to take the whole panel off. But that whole panel is latched up there, so you can move it around, get behind there, get to the fans and the pumps and everything else, and perform service work. This one only has 45 hours on it. It's crazy. And then you have your mode select. You have high heat, low heat, off, fan, and cool. So, and you also have auxiliary heat. Done a little bit of research on it, not much on the manual, but from my understanding, it pulls some diesel fuel into a pre-combustion chamber and uses that to help provide some additional heat to the unit if it's super cold, because anybody who runs a heat pump knows they don't work very well when it gets really cold. Let's go over to the other side. On the front of the trailer, or the ECU here, you can pull this panel. That gives you access to your condensers and your fans and coils and everything else. I'm not even sure if that is a condenser. I always get a condenser and evaporator mixed up, but you understand, I'm sure, how this operates and the basic functionality here and the accessibility you gain from this panel. Close that one up, and we can go to the other side. Of course, here's your ports. These are 16 ports. I think the lower ones are your intakes, and your upper ones are, right there. Or your blowing baffles. And then over here, of course, you have another panel. Get these apart here, and this brings you to the other side. Of course, a lot of squirrel cages are direct drive. This one operates with a motor and a pulley, and as you can see, it's geared up a bit per military fashion. Close those up, and now we're gonna come over to the control panel, which I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Now, this is one of the newer units. This is a 2017 unit. So what you're gonna see in here is a digital control panel. Now, I don't have juice going to it, so I'm not gonna power it up, and I don't even know how to run this control panel, to be perfectly honest with you. I need to take a look at it, explore it, read the manuals, get some of the details figured out. I have been into the hours and some of the basic maintenance and stuff, but until I get it running, I have yet to explore the control panel. Of course, you have your emergency stop, battery switch, and your battle short right there. And from what I understand with a battle short is you flip that switch and you can grenade it. So if you're running low on oil and you just don't feel like filling it up, you can flip the battle short switch, run your generator out of oil, and blow it up. Otherwise, of course, as the name implies, if you're in battle, you want that manual override to ensure the generator is always functioning, regardless of what happens. And I think that's the intended purpose. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. You have your automatic start-stop, which we'll go over a bit more in detail. You can load shed this generator if you have a couple of these hooked up. Black out the display. Anti-wetting stacking, that's if you're running the generator. It helps keep the engine clean because diesels, of course, load up when they're idling. It comes with an onboard engine heater and the engine heater status light, which is pretty awesome. And of course, down here, if we pull this open, these are all your circuit breakers. There you go. And if we go behind this panel where those dangers are, you can get to a lot of the 3-phase and heavy-duty wiring breakers and more controllers behind there. So that pretty much sums up everything else. Lots of instructions on the inside of the lid, so on and so forth. Now the most interesting part, difficult to use part, I guess, the part that everybody wants to look at and has questions about, is the port connections. So we lift up this panel and we have all of our ports here. And I've been through a few of these. Your GenSet communications port, from my understanding, allows you to communicate inside the tent. So if you're in the tent, you can turn on the generator, turn on heat, cool, and run everything from inside the tent. Over here you have your battery charger, so you can plug this into an outlet, and a friend of mine has a cable for it, so you can keep this in maintenance mode and keep the batteries maintained. That is your load shed controller. That is your J9 load shed controller, or ECU. Oh, these are ECU load shed controllers right there. And then over there you have your 12-volt slave receptacle, so you can charge it off your Humvee or jump it or vice versa. Here you have your J1s. There are 120 volts at 20 amps. You have J3 through J4. These are your 2-phase. These are 120 and 208 volts at 60 amps. And then J5 and J6 are your phase 3. These are 120, 208 at 100 amps. Now, I'm sure a lot of you may have had the same idea as me. Well, you have a 2-phase, 3-phase generator you can hook into your house for a generator backup solution. And that is why I actually originally intended to purchase this thing. But the problem is we'll just zoom up right there. It says 208 volts. And I'm not an electrician, but my understanding is that a 3-phase generator such as this has a different phasing than your public utilities. So these are phased at 120 degrees, I think. And when you do the math on the phasing on a generator as opposed to line service, you don't get the 240 volts, you get 208 volts. And that causes problems because most of your 2-phase appliances, such as dryers and furnaces and such, they're made to run 240. So you can't run this generator as a whole house backup solution easily. There's things you can do, and I'm going to be exploring those in the next few months, but just don't buy one of these generators thinking you're going to plug into the J3 port and run your house. Not going to work, not likely. Now you can run one leg of your panel or one of your phases off the J1 or J2, and that will work. You can't run each leg of the panel off each single phase because you're still going to end up with that 208. But you can at least supply 120 volts at 20 amps to your house, which will work with a lot of your critical appliances, you know, refrigerators, your deep freezers, stuff like that. In my case, the only 2-phase equipment I have is a dryer and a furnace, and we have the ECU there, so I guess I'll just get a replacement door panel, punch some holes in it, and run some flexible ducting, and use the ECU on board the trailer for my environment control rather than my furnace. But there's the lowdown, everything I've learned so far, and I'll be continuing to explore this unit. I'll give you some looks on the inside, the engine compartment, service, everything else. I got a lot of it done already, but we'll go deeper into that as time goes on. And if you want to learn more, hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be notified as soon as I go live with my next video. And you can follow along with me as I explore and hopefully don't destroy a military GenSet. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you do. And again, don't forget to subscribe. Love to have you join my channel. And yeah, leave it in the comments. Any suggestions, mistakes I made, or misconceptions I may have. So thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck to you.